Jamie Dornan sadly shared, "I lost everything, family, career." In 2025, Jamie, who rose to fame as Christian Grey, is now a name forgotten by the media or mentioned with regret. But his career is only part of it. The most painful thing is that he no longer has a family. 2025 is the year I lose everything, Jamie began to share in an exclusive interview with the fictional magazine Life Between Frames. When everything falls apart at once, you understand what the abyss is, life after the glory. After the success of the 50 Shades series, Jamie did not rest on his laurels. He participated in many independent projects, art films, and television series. However, from 2022 onwards, the amount of work began to thin out. Partly because he was more selective in choosing roles, partly because the industry changed. Streaming exploded, AI was used to write scripts, even virtual actors. "I couldn't compete with an algorithm-generated face," he said bitterly. However, what hit him hard wasn't his career decline, but the realization that he was distancing himself from the people he loved most. Fraud in the family. Amelia Warner, his wife, a talented musician, began showing signs of depression in late 2023. Jamie, who was filming a movie in Iceland at the time, couldn't be there for her. The calls gradually became less frequent. The messages were just, "I'm fine," and "don't worry." "I thought she just needed time. But I was wrong. I wasn't there when she needed me most." In 2024, Amelia filed for divorce. There was no blame, no argument. Just a simple sentence. "We're not looking at the same direction anymore." The three daughters, Dulcie, Elva and Alberta, were raised by their mother. Jamie tried to stay in touch, but the distance was more than just geographical. He became a name in their diaries, not a father figure. The last scandal. In April 2025, Jamie agreed to star in a major action film funded by an Asian streaming platform, hoping it would be a comeback. But just 2 weeks after the trailer was released, the film was cancelled because the investor went bankrupt. Not only that, but social media began to spread rumors that Jamie was difficult to work with, making outdated star demands, and losing his charisma. Although most of it was just rumors, Jamie chose to stay silent. He shared, "I no longer have the strength to refute. Every effort just made me feel more alone." He was cut from 2 film projects that had been signed. Instagram account shut down, agent quit. Within 3 months, Jamie lost most of his industry connections. The final loss. On June 14, 2025, Jamie's father died of a stroke. It was a crushing blow. "He was the only person who never doubted me. He believed in me more than I ever did." Jamie went to Belfast for the funeral, no press, no fans. He stood alone in the rain, bowing his head at his father's grave. That night, he wrote in his diary, "I used to be Christian Grey. Now I'm just Jamie Dornan, a son who lost his father, a father who lost his son, a husband who lost his wife, a man who lost himself." After his father's funeral, Jamie didn't return to London, nor did he fly to Los Angeles as usual. He decided to stay in Belfast, the place where he was born, where it all began. But this time, there was no film crew, no press. Just a man, an old car, and a small rented house on the edge of the city. He started doing small jobs, fixing pipes, sweeping leaves, and sometimes, reading old letters from fans. A woman from Brazil once wrote to me, "You were the first person to make me believe in tenderness from a man." I kept that letter for years without ever reading it. Now I read it over and over again, as if searching for the good in me. Face yourself. While walking through the woods near his rented house, Jamie happened to meet a boy named Finn, about 12 years old, practicing his guitar. Jamie, amazed by the boy's skill, started talking. The boy asked, "What do you do?" Jamie smiled sadly. "I used to be an actor. Now I'm learning how to be a person." They met more often. Jamie taught Finn some basic acting techniques, and Finn showed Jamie some new chords. They didn't talk about the past, only about the present. Finn made me understand that I still had value, not because of my fame, but because of who I was when I had nothing. A message from the past. One afternoon in July, Jamie received a text message from an unknown number. It was Amelia. She asked if you wanted to come to her piano recital at school. "I won't force you, but I'd love it if you came." Jamie's heart pounded. He didn't know what to feel: happy, nervous, or afraid of rejection. But he did. He sat in the back row of the small auditorium. As his daughter sat down at the piano, the lights shining on her soft brown hair, part Amelia's, part his, Jamie couldn't help but cry. After the show, they met. No hugs, no tears, just a look at each other, and a nod. A recognition that, though they were no longer husband and wife, they would always be parents. The letter never sent. During his time in hiding, Jamie wrote many letters, to Amelia, to his children, to his father, and to himself. But there was one letter he never sent. It began, "To the Jamie Dornan of tomorrow. If one day you wake up and there's nothing left, no movies, no friends, no one who remembers you, you must remember one thing: you loved, you were loved, you lived. And that still matters." He kept the letter in his wallet. Whenever he wanted to give up, he read it again. The end. The beginning. In December 2025, a young Irish director, no one knew his name, emailed Jamie, "I grew up watching you act. I wrote a script about loneliness and resurrection. If you read it and like it, please reply. Even if it's just to say, no." Jamie read it. It wasn't a blockbuster. It wasn't a box office hit. But it was real, painful, and beautiful. Like his own 2025, he called back, "Where are you planning on shooting?" "Belfast, where I was born." Jamie smiled, "Me too. See you there. Loss is not the end." The year 2025 took away Jamie Dornan's family, his career, his reputation, things he thought he could never lose. But it also gave him back something he had long forgotten: himself. And while the world looked at him with regret, Jamie looked ahead, where new stories were waiting to be told. Not with the spotlight, but with the heart.